Yeah. Today, this week, Parsha Achai Mot v'Kedushim. Baruch Hashem, this week we have 51 mitzvot in the Parsha Kedushim, which is a major mitzvot between Adam and Chavero. And one of them is about Lo Telech Besedek Tishba Metecha, but another one is Lo Telech Rachil Be'amitecha. So the way Chachamim explain this whole mitzvah is the person no telech rachid b'amecha means that don't go and gossip around, don't go gossip about other people, okay? And the next pasuk said beseder tishbot ametecha. So the Chazal say, so how do you stop this gossip? Do specific tishbot ametecha. Judge your friends favorably. Okay. Now, by doing so, you're going to prevent yourself from a lot of averot, because the more a person, the more gossip he makes, right? It causes more averot for himself, and it causes blockage for him, and his success is not going to be. It's not going to be successful in his life the way it should be, right? So we all want to have the maximum baracha from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and they say, most of people say that even they say right now the reason we are having all issues that we are in Galut because of the Sinat Chinam, and the reason there is a Sinat Chinam is because of the not paying attention to this concept of what Beseder Tishbot interpretation, that you should judge your friend favorably. Once you judge your friend favorably, right, then automatically you don't feel like saying anything gossip about anybody. So, and these two mitzvot are mentioned in the parsha of the Kedushim, right? So, interesting. So the Chazal said there are three different of people in our group, in the Jewish people. One is Sadikim, one Benoni, and one is Rishaim. And here it says, even though that there are the only one that you don't need to judge favorably are the Rishaim, and also under Rishaim, for Sadiqim for sure we should give benefit of doubt that they went to sleep and they got up in the morning and they did Teshuvah. Benoni also we try to do the same thing. Rishaim, even Rishaim, the Chazal said, right now, they're not considered Rishaim because what? They do Avera because they are like a that what? Like the children that they were from childhood, they were captured by the Goyim, right? And because they were captured by the Goyim, they didn't learn the halachot, so they are used to act like non-Jewish people, and they are not considered as a Goyim. The only one that Chazal are very strict about are people that they know the halacha, they know the law, but they do what we call the hachis. The hachis means to make HaKadosh Baruch Hu angry. Those ones are the ones that Chazal are they say you could say you don't have to give them benefit of doubt. If they want to do mamash the hachis, if they don't want to do the hachis, even though the guy makes a lot of mistakes and says a lot of things, we should judge them fairly. And that's a very interesting point. And here, I want to go to page day 9, which explains a certain way what person should do, that he should not, what kind of excuses he should give, right, in order to prevent this thing. By the way, the book that I'm reading from is from the period of speech, right? And this is a very, very, very interesting book. I would recommend it highly for everybody to read it. It gives a lot of chizuk, and if person tries to do it, right, and try to remember these tips, we'll be able to overcome a lot of the Yisra from saying Lashon Hara. Okay? Now, here, he says, so what do you do to give kaf zechut? How do I come up with excuses for the person? You need to, in order to give a benefit of doubt, you have to, in your mind, you have to come up with some excuses for the person. Okay, so the excuses that here is listed is very interesting. If a person tries to do it, right, he's going to be able to overcome saying, preventing from saying many lashon hara, and not only that, also abok lashon hara. Okay, so what are these? And you know, the abok lashon hara is not lashon hara, but it's something that it could interpret either it is lashon hara or not. Like for instance, what's something like lashon hara? For example, a person says, the guy says, I'm very hungry. Is there any place I can eat? And the guy says, go to this person's home. He always cooks. So this is abak lashon hara. Why? Because a person could think this guy is he's just somebody that eats all the time.
Eating.
Huh?
All the time eating.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. He's basically he just eats all the time. He doesn't do anything else. So it's something ganai, something not positive about him. And the person could think that, or he could think that he's such a bad chesed. He's cooking all the time for guests. So that's called abak lashon hara. The person has to be very careful. If he wants to say it, he has to say also he always has guests over there. So if you go there, right, you're gonna find food. But if you don't say that, you just say he cooks all the time, that could become abak lashon hara. Now, here is a fascinating excuses that I find it very interesting. And he's talking about, if you're talking about somebody, you see somebody is doing it all the time. You see somebody is doing avera all the time, okay? Certain avera, okay? And you see and you say, you know, what is this? So once a person sees that, naturally he starts thinking negative about the person. And after that, what he does is start talking about it. What did he do? So he said there are three things that can be done, excuses that can be said about it, which is on the bottom of day 9, on the bottom, he gives like 3 different excuses. He says the person should think maybe it's a pikuach nefesh. He's doing this, he's pikuach nefesh, he's trying to save somebody's life. That's why he's driving on Shabbat, for instance, every Shabbat. Okay, so that's one of the things that you do it. Or he did not avert this avera, right? And that means he doesn't think it's avera. Like we're talking about like eating something, some food that is not kosher or doesn't have hashgacha. So let's just go with a simple avera that some people could fall upon this avera, which is what eating something that doesn't have hashgacha. Okay, so you say maybe it's for pikuach nefesh, he's eating it. Maybe that's it. Second, maybe he doesn't know it's avera, right? He doesn't think it's avera. He doesn't know he's embur yatched. He's not knowledgeable. Doesn't know all the halachot. And the third one, which is very interesting, is he thinks that it's just a chumrah. The chumrah is just he thinks this person is doing avera. He thinks this is just a chumrah and he doesn't have to abide by it. So he says if you think that way, and mamash, if you go over it a few times, right, and doing it that way, then the person's mindset changes. When the mindset changes, then he doesn't say negative things about people. Okay, and that's the way to do it. And I find this very important for myself too, because when you go around, everybody has this issue that you confront people, and there are certain things you see. So if a person constantly thinks about it and gives him these excuses, he would prevent from himself from saying a lot of lashon hara. So he gives example that he says. You notice on page 37, the third page, the examples are very interesting. It says, you notice Chaim talking or doing the davening, so it is also to tell people that he's talking. Okay? So, right? The best thing is to, also we have this issue, we have to tell him. You don't tell people. הוכיח את עמך ולא תישא עליו חטא. You have to tell the person in a way that he can accept it and don't make him embarrassed, right? You have to say, my friend, don't you think? And again, we have this in this book. It gives also explanation a way how to say הוכיח את עמיתך ולא תישא חטא is how to say it, right? So if you see this, so if you, the way he says it says, first of all, when you want to say it, tell him in a question way, as if you're asking him. It's not in this page, but it's in this book. You ask the person if this is isn't this considered Avera, and then what do you think? What do you think? Yeah, that's yeah. So yeah, exactly. So what do you think? What do you think about this? Do you think this Avera should be considered Avera or not? Asking a person for the person comes to realization, but making him make a decision on his own when you're asking him, but not telling him. So when you're asking him, it's very different than telling him. So that's works. And always include yourself. Include yourself. What do you think we should do? What do you think about this situation? And put ourselves. It is allowed for us. So this is gonna help a lot. And the other thing is that he brings another example about you notice Leib cheating people,
This
right?
is Shlomo Pines from New York.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Achawat, go ahead.
Okay. Good morning, Shlomo. So the second thing is you notice Mr. Fulani and Mr. Lev, for example, cheating people, right? Again, same thing. Don't go around telling people, right? A person has to try to find a way to tell him, right? But don't go tell people unless there's something you try to him and he doesn't listen. Then there's a mitzvah to go to a person that could have some kind of hashpa'ah to take this under control so he doesn't cheat everybody and get him back to on the right track, right? So he brings he said when somebody says his friend is talking over the shul, first of all we said those three excuses that we can give him, the bit of doubt. One is pikuach nefesh, the second one is he doesn't think it's avera, and the third one is if he thinks it's a chumrah. Once you think that way, that you put yourself in his shoes, then you don't have a knee-jerk reaction of going around telling people about it. Then it makes it easier for you to resolve the issue without doing any avera. You can do and move forward. And here it says, if somebody goes and tells about somebody, look at Peloni, right? He's always talking, doing tefillah, right? Not only he does anything positive, but also he brings himself a lot of averot for himself. So, and also, Chas v'Shalom, not only that, he might come to hate the guy. He doesn't say it here, but he might come to the person and says, gets to that conclusion that something is very wrong with him, and then do not even start hating the guy that way. So we want. They say right now, B'ezras Hashem Yitbarach, everybody say the signs of all the Beit HaMikdash and Geulah is all in the corner, on the corner, and they say that one of the reasons we have all the Klal Yisrael having issue for the Geulah is because Sinat Chinam, right? So this mamash, this small, very, very few tips that is mentioned here, they are extremely powerful. If somebody tries to implement it and internalize and implement it in his life, first of all, he doesn't do any avera of the Shahara. It's going to be very minimum. And second of all, even though the person does it continuously, when you see the person is doing it continuously, you can, by coming up with these three excuses, that first, again, I repeated, one is pikuach nefesh. Maybe he's doing it because he's pikuach nefesh. B, maybe he doesn't think it's avera, or see, maybe he thinks it's Khumrah, right? And if he keeps thinking it that way, when it comes to the situation, right, he doesn't say anything because he has this excuses for this person. And that way he has also Aval Israel. He has a lot of Aval Israel, and because we say in the Tumah Devorah, Mahu Rachum, Ato Rachum. Right? We have to have Rachmod on everybody, and B'ezras Hashem Yitbarach, by doing that way and not saying negative thing, a person bring for the person zechuyot, and also HaKadosh Baruch Hu look at the person differently, and B'ezras Hashem there is Avat Chinam instead of Sinat Chinam. B'ezras Hashem Yitbarach, we come out from this galut b'rachamim amikil.
Amen.
Okay, go here.